shows like SpongeBob definitely make you want to taste a crusty. Crusty Krab. What's it called? A Krabby Patty in real life.
Is that just a crab cake on some bread?
I never thought about that. Were they actually crab cakes?
Right.
I always just thought they were just actual like hamburger. They just called them.
They just call it Krabby Patties.
But that's true. They might have been crab cake. That's an expensive fast food.
Right. Mm-hmm. The crab cake is expensive, honey. You get 2 for like $50. I was like,
but see, Mr. Krab, he was cheap, so he'll find a way to have some imitation crab. It ain't like he'll be charging like his regular.
For sure.
All right, so it's important that I get the trash can off because on my cameras, y'all, I get all these notifications of all sort of critters, and I'm not trying to be out there with them. I've seen a possum on my camera. Raccoon was trying to climb up the side of the garbage can. I saw another raccoon like 2 nights ago, and I've seen 2 deers on my camera just in my front yard, just chilling.
A possum is probably the biggest waste of an animal that God created. Like that is the ugliest and most useless animal.
No, they're useful. They are useful. They eat like thousands of ticks, which is necessary, which is needed.
Well, they ugly. That was the main thing. They're hideous. That is like who wants to look at that?
Fun fact: they are the only marsupial in the United States.
I've heard marsupial. What's the definition?
They have the pouches like kangaroos, koalas.
Oh, right.
And so, I recently just saw this random video on possums.
Okay, Terry.
They can have like 20 babies and they crawl into the pouch till they fall out, basically. Then they crawl on the mom's back and they just chill on her back until they're too big and fall off. And once they fall off, they on their own.
Okay. All right.
And that's the possum's life.
But why are they so ugly though? Like, who can anybody explain that?
I want to ask God about the roaches one day.
Oh, please.
Now roaches are stupid.
And them water bug things. Yeah. Ask him about those.
Y'all ever got like bit by I don't know what it was, but it used to be like a black bug that used to always be around when you be in the swimming pool. They used to call that some type of little water bug or something and it'll bite you. This is when I was living in Atlanta. Like bite you or sting you or something. Always when I was around in the pool.
I'm not messing with none of them. I don't like bugs. I don't like bugs.
I guess they're necessary for some creatures out here. Somebody got to eat them, I guess. All right. Y'all ready to get started?
You got the topic? Oh.
You made up the topic.
For the first time, y'all. We'll get there in a moment. Boom, shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones podcast. This is the place where preachers' kids come and unite and fight the evil powers within to sin. That was a bar. Kellie, turn your phone. Why you always got to be having your shit dinging during the podcast?
That's in my computer. I don't know how to turn off on my computer.
Anyways, my name is Rudy Wilson. I'm a preacher's kid. Kellie Lee is here. She's a PK. Janessa's here. She's a PK. Terry Wayne is doing comedy, right? Something.
I think so. I think he has a show today.
Terry Wayne's somewhere. All right. But he's also a PK. Shout out to him in his absence. Janessa with the moo.
Mm-hmm. Look, y'all already know what you get me for Christmas. Going right up to the Ross. They come in all different colors. One size fits all.
I'm going to just get a sheet I don't use no more, cut a hole in the top.
It's not the same. It's not the same, Rudy.
Just let you hang it over your body.
It's not the same, okay?
It's gonna feel the same. It ain't gonna look the same. It ain't gonna be appealing to look at, but it's gonna feel the same.
You got to get the luxuriousness of the silk.
Yeah, it'll be a silk sheet.
No.
I got you.
Mm-mm.
But how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just same old, working, school. I did check on my watermelon. It's doing really good. My peppers have turned red. My bell peppers, they start off green, and the longer you leave them on, that's how they get the different colors when you're at the store.
Gotcha.
So I got a couple of red ones, doing a little experiment. But yeah, had a good Labor Day with my family. We went to my sister's house and had us a good time. And I don't know, we were just thinking about, so my first cousins all have kids, and there's a lot of them. It's about 12 of them. And we were just like, how did this happen? Like, when did this happen? But it's cute to see the next generation, a family, and it's a bunch. They're a rowdy bunch too. So
yeah.
That was fun.
It's always a good time to be able to chill with family.
Mm-hmm.
It's also good that you're, close with family, to be able to, y'all hang and bond and actually want to be around each other.
Absolutely. We're gearing up. Actually, this weekend is my grandfather's birthday. This is my dad's dad.
I'm sorry, Miss Kellie. Get your shit together.
I don't know how to turn off the sound on my computer.
Well, tell people put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Then that way you won't get no text.
Okay.
She lying. Go ahead. Your grandfather?
Oh no, I was saying my grandfather, my dad's father, is turning 90 this weekend.
All right now.
So we're gonna do a little celebration with him.
Papa Dexter. I don't know his name.
His name is Grandpa Joe.
Just leave daddy names. Like, you just remember when you kids, you call somebody like, hey, Janessa's mom.
Right.
You don't know their name.
And he would be real messed up if you called him Grandpa Rowland, because that's definitely not his name.
Gotcha.
My dad took his mother's last name.
Gotcha. Okay.
My dad took his mother. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, catch up.
If we did traditional, my name would be Delay. Janessa Delay.
I like that delay.
Is that, what is that? French or something? What is that? Nothing. It's like it's literally delay, like D-E-L-A-Y.
No, D-E-L-E-Y. I think D-E-L-A-Y.
Oh, so it's spelled just like delay. Like
delay. Mm-hmm.
Like delay of game.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right. You should make you should make a moo line called Delay. That'd be fire. You be relaxed.
Little head tie, little head wrap.
Throw that delay on, you be lit. I'm telling you.
Matching socks.
Don't throw your delay on. That'd be good. You can advertise that. We'll make sure we cut this part out. Just
so nobody steal it.
Right.
I'm good.
PTA meetings.
I know. We had curriculum night. Like I said, I don't have any curriculum, but I was there. Just so they can say I was there. But
just so they can say you were there, or just so you can say
so somebody can say, yeah, I saw Miss Lee. You was there.
But do they expect you to be there to oversee something, or do they expect you to? I'm saying because I guess I get from your side why you want to be seen, but I'm saying, but why is it that they want to see you there? I guess
they really don't. I just like to. So in my profession, I could really kind of hide in the cut because I work at multiple schools. I don't have to work with all of the teachers in the school. I kind of have this specialized field. But I've always said since grad school that I didn't want to be that psychologist that kind of sat in the office all day. And so when they have, and so this was at my high school, they had one at my elementary school. I didn't go to that one. But at my high school, I've been at for the last 8 years. So sometimes I just like to, for my face to be seen that Miss Lee is here. She stayed after until 7:30 for curriculum night. That she's a part of the team, part of the group, that I don't just kind of come in and out. So that's always kind of important to me to kind of be a part of like the whole school community, and not kind of just, like I said, be in my office. Because I can be in my office and not really associate with people, but I do try to build rapport and make connections with my team members in my community. So it's important for me to be there tonight.
So now that they know that you stay late, do they also know that you come late as well? Or
you're doing too much now. Doing too much. But I did come in this morning at 9.
Look at you.
I mean, if we speaking of late, I mean, do they know both sides?
So this is what you do. So today I come in. So teachers and staff are supposed to get there at 7:45.
Oh.
Recently, I've been getting there 7:45, 8 o'clock for the most part. Today I walked in at 9 because I was just late. And the admin have like a little huddle at the front of the school, and I've been doing really well with like missing admin at the huddle in the front of the school. So I walk in today, they were in the huddle at the front of the school. So the principal, so this is what I do. So the principal waves, "Good morning." So you just wave and smile like you on time. Like, you don't know where I was for this last hour. You don't know I was at the house getting ready. Right. You don't know I didn't wake up.
You might have just walked out to get something from your car.
Right. They don't know. I mean, I had all my bags with me, so
I'm trying to work with you, Kellie.
I had all my bags with me. But but you just pretend like good morning. Is when you try to hide and duck and dive. Right. That's when you look like, if you just say good morning and smile and wave, it look like
this is a case where strong and wrong goes right.
Right. Strong and wrong goes right.
Be strong. Hey, strong and wrong go right.
I've been doing that forever. Just good morning. Hey. As if I was right on time. Mm-hmm. And they just say good morning, Miss Lee, and then we'll keep moving. So, yep.
It's just probably that there's so few of people who can do your job. They're like, I mean, what are we gonna do? We got. I mean, she's. It's like.
Is there a teacher shortage for counselors? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. There you go. Boom.
And I do my job well. There's not really any complaints. I mean, I stay late. I mean, I stay late pretty consistently. And so if anybody ever said, Ms. Lee doesn't get here until whatever, I said, but I'm also here until 6 o'clock. So let's be clear. So, but yeah. But overall, I'm doing well. Can't complain. School year's off to a good start. I've gotten to be able to do some different things. Work with some of our students that are in transitional spaces. So some of my homeless students. And so that's been good. That's been different. Trying to figure out kind of what supports and services to provide for them, and even realizing my own privilege. And appreciating my parents for the life and the lifestyle that I've been provided, that some of the things that these students go through on a day-to-day basis at 5, 6, 7 is something I've never had to think about before. So I've been getting to step my foot into some different spaces this year, which has been good. So things are well. Things are going well. Yep. What about you, Rudy?
Always good.
Excellent.
So you had an idea for us to watch a film.
Yes. So we've been almost 2 years on this podcast. On this podcast. On this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
On this podcast. And this may be one of the few times, this may have been like my second or third time that I have come up with a topic. But out in movie theaters and on Peacock on Friday, Honk For Jesus, Save a Soul. I think that's the name of it. Save Your Soul. Came out as a movie that talks about really the Black church and a lot of what we kind of discussed on the podcast. And so I hit up the team and said, hey, everybody watch and let's discuss on Wednesday. So I don't think Terry watched, but I guess he knew he wasn't going to be here today anyway. So he just didn't respond at all.
Right.
But we're here. And we all grew up in Black Atlanta church culture. So just
For
wanted
sure.
and
Good
discuss.
sized churches as well.
Huh?
Good sized
This
churches
that
as
churches,
well.
right? For
Not
sure.
necessarily, I guess what maybe consider it mega or whatever, but definitely not small by any means.
Right, definitely. And I think we've seen some parallels, if not necessarily in our own churches, being the churches that we grew up in, which wasn't necessarily our father's churches, but then our father's churches now. Um, and even like I said, churches in Atlanta, we may not see any parallels with our churches and our father's churches, but we definitely see parallels with other churches in the Atlanta area.
For
And
Right.
sure.
what you say?
I just
For
said right.
sure.
Oh yeah. So definitely thought, it would just be a great conversation for us to have to kind of dissect some of the parts of the movie. So thank you guys for watching and indulging. I just happened to see it. I guess it just kept coming up previews. Did y'all hear about it prior to me? Okay.
Yep.
Saying it, yeah. So
Yeah, I heard about it, but it was probably like the if it wasn't the day of, it was like the day before. I heard about it like I don't even remember how, but some kind of way. I remember just hearing the name Jordan Peele and something whatever, and I remember him like executive producing, which made me think like, wait, so he's doing a comedy now as opposed to like another horror, which then I seen the actors, and so I was kind of like, you know, I thought it was gonna be kind of like corny and weird or whatever. I didn't really know where they was gonna go with it, but then I think you mentioning it pushed me to watch it faster, but I was definitely going to eventually check it out. But my question is, just before we get started, I know you said it was about the black church, but do you think it was anything, scripted around Eddie Long's situation?
I definitely seem like there was some parallels with Eddie Long. For sure. Even they filmed it in Atlanta. Um, I think it was they filmed it in Atlanta, and I think the location of the church was in Atlanta. Um, and it did parallel some of Eddie Long's, not completely to the extent of maybe Eddie Long and his, because I don't think Eddie Long ever lost all of his members and had to completely restart the church.
Correct.
Yeah. But in terms of the scandal, that definitely kind of paralleled Eddie Long.
Right.
Yep, for sure.
The film was filmed at Graders Travelers Rest, E. Dewey Smith, Pastor E.
Yeah.
Dewey Smith's church,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a mile down the street from my church.
So, but to Rudy's comment, I guess we can just start with general impressions. It is listed as a comedy.
Right. Satire for sure.
Right. I said, but it's not like haha funny.
Well, I mean, I definitely laughed.
It does have some funny moments.
It has
I
some
definitely
funny
laughed.
moments, but it is not a comedy.
I just think it gets dark, at points, but it's funny though. Like it's definitely a comedy, but that just covers some really serious stuff.
I think what makes it funny, at least for me, is because I can vividly highlight certain situations. Like I can be like, yeah, that happened before. I've seen that. I've definitely seen that. And I'll save one of my favorite parts for later.
But I was kind of watching it. So let me say this. It took me, I watched it in 3 different settings, and I think it's an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, something like that. And I watched it in 3 different settings. One, because I got slight ADHD and I really don't watch anything unless I'm in the movie theater. I really don't watch anything all the way through. I pause a million and one times. And 2, I'm not sure if I didn't suggest it to the podcast and I didn't think that this would be a good topic to discuss, if I would have finished it. I felt like it took a minute for me to kind of get where we were going. And I don't know if I was absolutely a fan of I don't even know. I don't know film words. Rudy, this is your area. But a fan of the how it was written. Because it wasn't like a typical movie. It was
like The Office with the interview style.
Yeah. Oh, is that how The Office is?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so I usually watch like sitcoms and shows, and you kind of run, and so I'm like, all right, where we going? What we doing? What, like, it took us 50 minutes to get to what the scandal was, and so yeah, so I'm not sure if I would have really finished it, but I will say, the writers and the creators of the film went to Spelman, whoop whoop. So definitely had to support for more
Yes.
reason than that. So
The Ego sisters.
yes. But I thought overall, like I said, there were some parts that really, as a church girl, it was some parts, as a preacher's kid, it was some parts that made me really uncomfortable. Like I said, it was some parts, like Janessa said, that definitely you said, oh, yep, I've seen that. I know where that's from. Oh, we talked about that on the podcast, and that. So, but I'll leave it to you guys. If there's something that you guys want to talk about first, I think it was layers to it. I think one of the big layers was the role of the first lady. So I definitely want us to get into that. But if you guys have some place you want to start in terms of the movie.
Well, I mean, like I said, for me, I definitely thought it was a comedy. I laughed a lot throughout the movie, a lot. When Regina Hall and the girl was cussing each other out on the street, hilarious. I mean, like, because, and it's even funnier because I grew up in church, and even when I say grew up in church, meaning like even throughout my adulthood, like I've seen a lot of behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to, pastors or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like I done been close to the wife. Like I done ate like dinner at like pastor's house, like quite a few times. Not like no, hey, we just want to invite some members from the church over on one Sunday. Like I done seen behind the scenes. So like for me, this is comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like, she's like, fuck you.
God bless you.
Took me out. Like, because, and it was so funny because of the compromising situation that she was in. Like she really meant it when she said it, but she realized like, oh man, like at the same time, we that goes against what we working for. So I got to say something that, at least apologizes, if not make him, maybe make the girl turn around and forgive her or whatever. But yeah, it was definitely way better than I would have given it credit for. Just, I guess, off the trailer. Like the trailer didn't really interest me. I'm just being honest. Like, a lot of times trailers can be lit and then the movie sucked. It was the opposite. For sure.
Well, I was gonna say, Rudy, to what you just said when she was cursing at the lady on the street. I think that's kind of the point, or one of the points of this movie, is to show that church people, especially pastors and first ladies, are just like everybody else. Like they want to cuss some folks out too, but
Right.
they, we have to put on this, I don't even say this facade, but like that when they go low, we go high, and God bless you, and sticks and stones won't break my whatever, like all the fluffy stuff. And I think that's kind of part of it, is to pull the curtain back on, Rudy, what you just said, a lot of stuff that does go on behind the scenes, because I think that's part of it too. That's part of why we have all these scandals today, is like all this stuff that goes on behind the scene that's not of God per se, but they wrap it in a bubble and then present it like God said this. Like when he was practicing his sermon and she was like, I'm not feeling it, you need to do it again or whatever. And I was just like, that's how it is in some churches. It's a performance,
right?
It's not from the Lord, it's not from the heart, it's for show. And so it's, as Rudy said, it's funny, but it's also really real. And I think that's what kind of makes this movie pop or a hot topic, is because it's kind of sticking the knife and twisting it in a way that you're just kind of like, touche. Like,
or you're like me, no. Continue to shield it. Like, no, and I guess it does lend itself for good conversations. They talked a lot about outward appearances and the Prada and what he had on and the shoes, or even the whole big thing with the hat.
Yeah.
When you're
$3,000 hat.
the $3,000 hat that he was just like, doesn't make us relevant or youthful or whatever you look, and so like you said, it's I hadn't discussed this yet, so I hadn't fully processed all of my thoughts, but like I said, some part of it was just like, man, as a preacher's kid, I want to keep, and I don't know if this is wrong or not, but I want to keep it silent, like I don't want to, you know, I don't want everyone to know that these are some of the things that go on in the background. Though we know that pastors are real and flawed and sin, just like the rest of us. Can pastors curse? Can pastors buy, $3, $4, $5, $6,000 suits? Can a first lady have a $3,000 hat that she's just going to wear for that one Sunday? Can they know all of the lyrics to Nuck If You Buck? Can they, and even with the whole scandal, and I don't know, and I'm guessing he never had sex with the young men, but he just took them under his wing. Y'all let me know. I said, did he ever have sex relationships with the young men, or did he?
I think he did.
But I don't
Oh,
know.
he did. Okay, I may have missed it.
I think the sex scene was
right
confirmation because he wanted it that way and she wanted it the other way.
Got you. Okay. See, I told you I watched it in 3 different sections, so I watched it over about 4 days. So I didn't.
And they never alluded to like this happening to just like him with men. It was him with them specifically. Women. You know what I'm saying? So it makes it seem like obviously, that's the thing. Even with him flirting with the sound guy.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot for me. Like I said, I've seen a lot of comments talk about how terrible the movie was, and I don't think it was terrible, but it was a lot for me. It was, I guess, and it was a lot to see them play church. It was a lot to see them not serious. It was a lot, kind of going back to what we talked about last week about Creflo Dollar, that there was something that got the congregation there. When you look at, like I said, Greater Travelers Rest is a humongous church. And so when you think about before the scandal, him filling the pews, with members, but playing the whole time. Not a bit of anointing, and then the rivalry versus, with the other church, and the smaller church, and even opening on the same day, and all of that. It was kind of just like, I think that would made it most uncomfortable because it's like, right, do these pastors exist? Definitely. But is this?
Sorry to cut you off, but then you also got the young man who appreciated his preaching and teaching, the dude with the gold who walked over. You know what I'm saying? Like, so. I don't know if that was anointing or gift, but but there were people who actually made some level of a change in their life due to, because he even kind of alluded to that he wasn't there every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? But like he came a few times and it helped him, whatever. So, maybe he just caught the messages. God filtered it, so he caught the messages that was worth something, and he wasn't catching the Bentley and my wife. He wasn't catching them messages. You know what I'm saying? But
he had, like we talked about with Creflo, like he had to have done something to fill those seats to even get a church on, that size in the first place. Right. So you may be gifted or in public speaking, you may be gifted in relatability to your community. You may be capable of delivering this this awesome message that moves people, but that doesn't mean that you're anointed to preach. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to be a pastor and a shepherd over an entire flock. Are you a deacon that maybe steps in every quarter, every 6 months, to preach a sermon? Maybe. But are you called to shepherd a flock? No. But like I said, God gives us gifts in so many different ways that here I feel like he just kind of misused. You know, and then enjoyed the benefits of it, the money of it, the fashion and the fame of it, the power of it. Even I remember Regina Hall talking about, I need you to get me back to that pulpit. You know, I want to be seen.
No,
I want to be up front.
no. She said that stage.
Stage. She did say stage. I
She
gave her
pulpit.
pulpit.
Yeah,
You're right.
Stage.
I give her yeah, I gave her that.
Yeah.
But she did. I need to get back to that state, you know. And so I guess it was just hard for me to see, like I said, just people not being here for the right reasons. And it's kind of like that, oh no, do you show people, you know, the truth and then do they not want to go to church at all? You know, like, and I guess that's my fear. Do you show, and they're like, oh man, I've seen that in like all the pastors in Atlanta. Let me just not go to church at all. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Well, the filmmaker side of me, and I definitely thought Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown did a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
Playing those characters, very believable. Their chemistry was undeniable. I mean, it was very, 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 very impressive. You know what I'm saying? It was an independent film. I thought it was, you know, and I look at things differently. So especially when it comes down to comedy, like I get, it doesn't bother me for them to be in a sanctuary and, you know, and kind of even make fun of like church things. Like I don't feel like that's like, and I'm not saying you said it, but I don't feel like that's like sacrilegious or, you know, whatever. Like because I get why they're doing it, like to use real life, but then make fun of it. Like that's because there's plenty of people who are playing church with churches that are big. You know what I'm saying? Like Sterling K. Brown is just imitating them.
He did a great
job. You know
job.
what I'm saying? Like it's not like every pastor is good, and then they like, you know, created this like, you know, evil character, and then it's like, oh man, you making the church look bad just because I guess they exposed it. I'm not offended by that, even with, you know, have grown up in church and all that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, because to me, I feel like people already feel like that anyways. So it's not like we're exposing anything new. You know, even if people say I told you so or whatever, like, I mean, it's still, it ain't like they went up there and made a complete lie. Like they didn't make a lie of a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like they told the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like what they did was not far-fetched by any means. Even having the him walking with the mayor and the governor or whatever it was, and the chief of police, I forgot, whatever the two officers was. You know what I'm saying? Like the first lady donating to the, you know, the charities or the kids or whatever it is. Like they, you know, like that's plenty of people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Whether, I mean, I'm not saying they're bad people or they got a scandal, but I'm saying like that's real. And then you have some people who have that life who stay straight, or maybe if they do got something going on, that maybe they never get caught. But then on the other side, you have cases where it gets exposed. You feel what I'm saying? I'm talking about in real life. I ain't talking about making a movie. I'm saying like they have a scandal because whatever it is they were doing in the dark came to the light. You feel what I'm saying? And all this movie did was imitate that in a very brilliant way, like where they didn't make it like a hacky comedy where like we just making a bunch of like silly jokes. We got a pastor with a Jerry curl wig and a gold tooth, and he just, you know, hey, you know, he, you know, like they didn't go that route. Like they kept it, you know, realistic, even with the, you know, with the even with the their relationship, you know, and her defending him and standing up for him. Like I've seen that in real life. You know what I'm saying? First ladies doing that, you know, the other couple, you know what I'm saying, who came from their church, who had the other church, you know what I'm saying, and acting like they didn't know that they wasn't doing it on Easter no more and all, you know what I'm saying? Like this stuff is real, regardless of how we feel about it. This is real. You know what I'm saying? And to me, I would much rather, as a church boy, if you will, make light of it and laugh, you know what I'm saying, while also grasping the concept of the seriousness of what first ladies possibly go through. You know what I'm saying? Like it definitely gave me way more sympathy for a first lady, even though I've seen it firsthand this movie kind of encaptured it, because I seen it firsthand, but on a smaller church scale. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to seeing it firsthand on a grand stage. You know what I'm saying? And fighting back for something. It's not even just like, you know, she's doing all of this to keep the church going. She's doing, you know, she's been doing all this and doing even more to get their church back. You know what I'm saying? Because the life that they knew can never be without, you know what I'm saying, without them getting that, you know, back, getting their reputation back or whatever. So that's why they was willing to settle, pay the money, you know what I'm saying? Which once again, I don't know if they put that in the script to kind of mirror Eddie Long's situation, because there was some type of settlement. But either way, when it came out to the movie, you know, I thought the way they went about it was pretty dope to me.
I definitely thought that that first lady piece was huge. In what it looks like and what it means, one, as a wife, to kind of stick by your husband, um, and then two, as a first lady, you know, and what that looks like for the church, especially in this place where you have now. Why they decided to film it in the first place and do the documentary in the first place, I'm not really sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not even sure why they even thought it was a good idea to
What was
film.
it supposed to prove? Like, I don't understand.
It was supposed to give a background look into their lives and who they really are. And I guess they thought it was going to be like they could control the narrative, but who they really are shine right on through.
Right on through. I'm like, why they thought that was a good idea, period. I'm not sure. But right, but I don't even remember. Trinity was her name, I think.
Yeah.
Trin, he called her. But just like I said, standing by your man in the midst of a scandal when you're, so take away about the preacher part, but one, your husband has been having sexual relationships with younger men, of age men, but younger men, you know. And so one, as a wife, me supporting, continuing to support my husband through that, and then two, publicly as a first lady, supporting and standing by my husband in that. Is that, I guess for me, it was like, all right, does she have like the ultimate love and admiration for her man, or does she want the lifestyle and to get back on stage? But I felt like that was huge.
Right.
Even the like I said, the sex scene, you know, in the, he gets the pleasure the way that he wants and desires the pleasure, but she can't.
Mm-hmm.
Even in those moments where, right, you can tell that she definitely didn't agree with some of the things that he said and he did. And as a wife, publicly, I can't express that. I can't say that. You saw it in her body language, in her face, you know. But is it as a woman, I can't challenge my husband. I can't say anything, you know, especially in public. You saw it privately when he was practicing for his sermon. But publicly he would say something and, oh baby, what about, you know, and she would try to kind of clean it up a little bit. In the biggest part, when she came out and mimed, you know, and
that's my favorite part, y'all.
And I know, well, both of you are more dancers. Any of you mimed in church?
Me.
Okay.
I've never mimed in church, but I did mime with one of my homeboys who do mime at like this little African American event. Like, I just kind of was like a little prop, but I had paint on my face though.
So I guess give me, Janessa, the background of miming.
I mean, it's just another form of praise dance. I guess for me, it's my favorite scene. It really took me out. Probably because my church dance team has done a mime to never would have made it. And it was like the biggest dance we ever did, period, to this day. Because the reason why it's not funny, but it's in revelation to the movie, because we had a church member, and y'all may have or may not have heard about this story. Church member was shot. The brother was killed. The sister was shot like 15 times. And this was like the day before they were supposed to go on trial for a home invasion case or something like that. It was a crazy situation. And this is like months after the funeral. And the young lady had healed. And this was like her first time dancing with us again. And so it was a
church.
Huh?
This is at Piney Grove.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes, that's what when I saw it and the music came on, her hands went just. I was like, I've been here. I have done this. I understand the passion behind it. I understand the song they picked. I understand it all. Like they were spot on with it.
Yeah.
And it's funny on that side, but I think on the film side, it represents a whole lot more because it represents not only like the mask that she wears all the time, the mask that she has to put on, she's doing stuff that she really doesn't want to do.
Right.
And you see that because after that scene, I believe is when her and Anita go back and forth. And that's when Anita was like, well, why don't you just leave? And like, she really thought about it and was like, no, because it's Lee Curtis, but this mine too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I don't know. I can't say that's how my mom feels, so I'm not going to put words in her house, but in her mouth. But that might be how a lot of first ladies feel, that they aren't the face of it,
right?
But the church would not be what the church is if it wasn't for them,
right?
Absolutely.
Like if they was to die or get divorced, like all the stuff you see going right would come crashing down. Like,
absolutely.
And I think that might just be the movie's small nod to first ladies. Like we see you, we see everything you do.
Right. Right.
I don't know. I think the movie has a lot of messages in it. After you can get past the comedy of it all.
I think I need to rewatch it, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was saying once you can get kind of past the kiki of it all, it really does have some deep messages if you're willing to, go there. I think kind of to your point, Kelly, like some people might be like, no, we don't want to go there. Let's keep it closed. We don't want to show this, but I understand your point that it may deter people, but I also feel like Rudy. I feel like that's what people already think, and maybe it's time for the church to be honest for real. Like that's how we win people. So stop. We need to stop all this.
Right.
We need to stop all this facade and fakeness and whatever we've been doing. Cause maybe that's
what does that look like? So does that look like, right, I post an Instagram video of pastor and first lady singing "Nuck If You Buck" in the car and TikTok it? Because, does it look like I know, isn't there like a cursing pastor? Does it look like I go to the pulpit and I curse because those are the words that I use at home?
The thing about it is, we judge people off of our own human morals as opposed to like just say the Bible. Like we'll be like, oh, no sin's bigger than another sin. But like if you had a pastor that was having sex with men as opposed to a pastor who just say didn't file his taxes one year or lied, just say about something, just say it was something small. Just say he lied about something small that wasn't that big of a deal, but it's still a lie. No sin bigger than another sin. The one who lied ain't gonna lose a member. The one who was having sex with the men is in jeopardy of having somewhere in between, I guess allegedly Eddie Long situation as well as what they showed in the movie. Like you'd be somewhere in between that level of loss of members because us as humans, we deem that worse. You feel what I'm saying? We deem that more bad or whatever the case may be. So I don't think that you necessarily have to TikTok you saying "nuck if you buck." Like you can show whatever part of your life you want to. You don't even have to be on Instagram, but at the same time, just don't be fake about it. Because like I've said before, which I guess is what freed me in my own life. Just because you're doing it in private doesn't mean you feel like if you're going to hell for something that you're doing, just because you're doing it in private and nobody knows it, and we think you're anointed, wouldn't stop you from going to hell for doing whatever it is that you're doing. You feel what I'm saying? So hiding it, I don't think helps. You know what I'm saying? If the truth is going to make us free, like the Bible says, then I think let's be truthful. And you can also, deal with a situation when somebody's actually willing to admit it. It's not saying like, yo, show your sin and then just rock that all the way to the grave.
Right.
But if you actually come forth and be like, yo, God speaks to me. I'm the leader of this flock, but I'm out here fucking these bitches. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm struggling. And yes, I'm married. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, once again, this is me. The rest of the world may crucify this nigga, but I'm saying me, I would follow that person because at least I know you're being real, as opposed to the person who up there playing church. The church big, it's huge, and I'm not saying every mega church, but I'm just saying in this particular situation for the movie, the church big, you know what I'm saying? It's huge, but you up there playing church, but it's something about your playing church that's drawing me. You know what I'm saying? Your charisma, your whatever is drawing me to be here. Me and all these and the 25,000 members. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, I honestly, the best policy, whatever they used to say when we was kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, just be real. Or if you want to be able to be real and it not look bad, then just stop what the fuck you doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be out here living a sinful life or whatever it is, and then, like, I get if you want to hide it off of human morals because people are going to judge you or whatever like that. But I'm saying if the church mentality was more about helping each other, including the leaders, I think people could be more honest and get that help as opposed to having to know how to act in front of church people, but then you act a different way, just say Monday through Friday or whatever the case may be. That's the life of a church kid. People who grew up in church, we learn that. We learn that dance. We get in front of church people. Oh, little old Rudy, little Kellie, little Janessa, little Terry probably was wilding, but little whatever. And then, but we go to school like me, man. I've been cussing since at least fourth grade. At least fourth grade. And my parents wasn't cussing in front of me. It ain't like I was getting it from the house or whatever like that. But I remember going with like my first time being in a conversation amongst like other youth at the church and hearing them talk about the shit they was doing. I was like, damn, I thought I was the only person. I thought I was the worst one. Like, I didn't realize other kids was doing, because once again, they had a facade at church. I didn't realize they were faking like me. You know what I'm saying? In the sense of knowing how to act, you know what I'm saying, in front of church people. Like, I didn't get it. But, I mean, even if you think about the people we went to church with, Janessa, like we went to church with thugs, drug dealers, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, niggas get shot, paralyzed, come to church in wheelchairs. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? But if you talk to them at church, you wouldn't think this dude was like that. You know what I'm saying? But people live in a totally different life outside of church. And I'm not saying just go out and expose your hand or whatever, but you should be able to be real with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's publicly because you're the pastor or whatever, and be able to get help as opposed to having to do that dance. I guess is what I'm trying to get
at. I mean, I agree with you, Rudy, to a certain extent. I agree that pastors, the church in general, leaders should be more open and honest about what is going on in real life. However, I think correction needs to be a part of that too. Sure. It can't just be like Rudy said, you just gonna confess this who you are, and then you keep living like that. Like, sure. That's not lining up with what the Bible teaches. And so I think at that juncture, if these leaders, pastors, church culture, whatever, wants to continue in this space, you either are going to lean into correction and restoration and repentance and live the right life, or ministry might not be for you.
Right.
And I think if we highlight that more and we get the church really back on what it's supposed to be, which is teaching and spreading the good news and saving souls, you know, and maybe we can get away from some of this luxuriousness and limelight and all of this stuff that's coming along with it.
Right.
Because sometimes I really do wonder if God had said pastors are to live, you know, honest, humble, bare minimum lives. Will we be having all these mega churches driving Bentleys and PJ?
We wouldn't have as many pastors, period. Like even the pastors of smaller churches, they're doing it to try, you know, well, not all, but you know, some are doing it to try to get to that level type thing.
Like what it's like the heart check, man. Like, right. And I'm not saying pastors who have private jets and millions of dollars are like in it for the wrong reasons, but I think there are many people and many pastors, if they're not already striving, like you said, for that type of lifestyle,
right?
They want it, or they've started churches to try to get it, because right. we know that churches are a business. You got the nonprofit, the 501k, like it's a whole thing. Mm-hmm. But when I say we, not me, but when people do that, when they create these churches under false pretenses or get rich quick or whatever, it gives the church a bad name.
Right.
And so I just kind of think we're at a place now where there are good churches and good pastors, and you've got some bad churches and some bad pastors. Mm-hmm. And as a church, we need to like collectively figure out how we gonna get back on track. Because if we just keep going the way we're going, like I don't think collectively we see it, but the church is just getting split over and over and over. Like we are not getting more united, in my opinion. But I've talked too much. Go ahead.
No, not you haven't. No, not at all. Well, just real quick, what I was going to say was I'm not sure if people would, because people flock to the charisma. You know what I'm saying? Not even just charisma in the preacher, but in just even the appearance of the church. You know, even like the dude in the movie mentioned, like I like when y'all had them lasers and things. You know what I'm saying? Like people. Why you think Times Square is big time? If you look up in Times Square and you see all them TVs and lights and stuff, you'll be amazed. But if you look down and you see all the piss and dirt on all around the New York City ground, you would realize that you're really standing in a place that, you know, is on the ground surface level where you at is pretty shitty. But because we have all this glitz and glamour, we're wild by that. People travel to New York to see that, take pictures of that, take videos of that. I'm in Times Square. It's just a bunch of TVs and lights and videos stuff. That's it. But it's fascinating to see. So when you have that, when you add that element to your church, like that's why like smaller, humble, little pastors that just, just maybe whether they old school or whatever, like they're gonna kind of keep that little congregation that's just kind of in that. But most people, even when it comes down to like hooping, when preachers preach, I don't know who created hooping, but I'm saying like even that, it adds an element to how people feel about the delivery of your message. And I'm telling you, I really learned about delivery after preaching and going into comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I realized that whatever type of speaking you're doing, it matters. You know what I'm saying? And then of course, what you're talking about, that definitely matters as well, because people also want to feel like, they're getting something out of it. And if you can do that at a high level and you got, good marketing or whatever the case may be, like you can build a church and be a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not, and once again, it's not to say, because Kellie, you're a prime example of a family who's not a piece of shit, who has a, I don't know if you do, I don't know, are y'all considered a mega church? I think so, but I don't know what the qualifications are these days.
It's big enough.
I mean, y'all got like 8 campuses, so I mean, I feel like that's that should be qualification, but that's what I'm saying. So I mean, y'all are a prime example of a humongous church, ministry, whatever you want to call it. That is, at least to my knowledge. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong off camera, but I think your family did it the right way. You be like, well, actually, we under investigation. No, But I'm saying, but y'all are a family who did it right, and who have, and was blessed as a result of it. But because there are people who can mirror what y'all have done without the same spirit, most people, may not know the difference. Even the people who hate church may not know the difference. So they'll look at Berean the same way they'll look at Lee Curtis and them, whatever, and think that y'all could be capable of the same thing just because you got a big church. You know what I'm saying? People literally hate big churches just because they big churches. Oh man, they got to be scamming. They got to be. You know what I'm saying?
You know our guy Terry hates Televan.
Don't ever take Terry to Berean. He'll be like, "Oh, this is what you got, Kellie, huh?
And don't let it be a Sunday and they talking about tithes and offering, honey.
Right.
My Lord. And that's a whole nother story. But I'm with Janessa in terms of, so going back to your point about the honesty of pastors. I think that, right, I think you gotta, I think you gotta find out where then you may not be anointed and called to be a pastor. I think that's my thing. I do think that, and maybe, and people tell me I live in a bubble, just in general, and I only see my own little life and my own little lifestyle, and maybe this is coming from my bubble. But speaking of Berean, and I'll speak to my dad just in particular, I've watched my dad intentionally try to follow Christ in his everyday life. I've and so, right, does he sin? 1,000%. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Is he doing something as big as sleeping around with all of these women while, I'm married, or any of these morally bad things? Not to my knowledge. If so, he's hit it pretty well, because his wife is quite she's something else. And so we would definitely know if he was out here wilding. But I don't know, back to your comment about, the pastor saying, hey, I'm the pastor, but I have trouble with adultery. See, then right now, this is not your season of calling. It's not.
I said fucking you bitches.
You did, but I wasn't going to use
same thing.
I wasn't going to use
a little bit more couth to it. Okay.
Right.
Well, use me in your example if you ain't gonna quote me.
No, I think that, no, like I said, because I've watched, and my father will forever be my pastor no matter what church I go to, but I've watched him, like I said, intentionally try to follow God. So if you feel like there's somewhere you're above the law, above sin, above the Bible, above God, and I can kind of do what I want to do and still stand on the pulpit and preach to you guys every Sunday, yes, I appreciate your honesty and letting us know that you struggle. Tell us that on the Breakfast Club, and then sit your behind down for the next couple of years. Right. Is my thing, because I do think, as we've kind of always talked about, is that I personally do think that pastors are held to another standard, right? Just like legally.
Is there a sit down line though? Is there like a line of what you have to do to be considered that to need to be sat down? Because there's not going to be anybody who's pastoring as a sinless pastor, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. For we all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
I ain't talking about all have. I'm talking about all is.
I don't know the exact line, but I think maybe what your life's, to a certain extent, all sin is not in alignment with God. But I think when you just can't get up there, and I don't know, that's tough.
And I can explain it, but I can't explain it. Like, I see it in my head, I know it in my head, but saying it in words, I guess, trying to piggyback on what Janessa was saying, just in terms of, I feel like if you have this stronghold towards this one particular sin, that even in conversation with the Lord, you are unable to break, whatever sin it is. then I think that may be that line where you need to sit down, where I'm consistently struggling with this one thing, or these two things, and through prayer and fasting and suffering and all of those things, I cannot break this stronghold over my life. And I think that is a line where you need to sit down.
Right.
Like I said, are we all going to sin? Yes. But to me, it's about the intention of every day I wake up to serve the Lord. Not, hey, every day I'm going to let my flesh take over because this is what I want to do and this is what feels good to me. Because we all know that following Christ, following God is uncomfortable a lot of the times. Goes against what we want to do, just kind of in my own mind, in my own flesh, most of the time. And so as a pastor, if your relationship with the Lord isn't strong enough to break some of these strongholds in your life, then you're not able to be on to shepherd, to pastor. I think that would be a line for me. I agree that no one is without sin. Have sin, will sin, is sin, all of that. But I think that there are certain patterns of behaviors that if you're unable to break those, then this may not be the time for you to lead.
I like that.
I feel that, but I feel like there's always, I feel like that would definitely work in a perfect world. But I feel like there's always the special cases, because once again, goes back to the whole moral code thing. Like if you're talking about like somebody who's struggling with, sexual whatever, like having sex with a bunch of women or whatever, and you can't get under control, we're like, well, you need to sit down until you get that under control. But if there was somebody who, let's just say like you had a pastor who was gambling on NFL football every Sunday, or playing the lotto, whatever. And he had a drink while he was watching the game. And I ain't talking about like getting sloppy drunk, just had a drink while you watching the game. Most people, I ain't talking about anybody on this podcast, most people ain't gonna budge about that.
But
because,
I think
I'm gonna let you go and say, but nobody's gonna require him to sit down because of that. Now there may be some people who get mad if they find out and leave or whatever, deacons, whoever, you know what I'm saying? But the bulk of people like ain't gonna care about him, because especially if they don't feel like it's like him gambling the church's money or whatever the case may be. And I'm just using just gambling as an example, but I'm saying like whatever it is, like we're gonna always put levels to it, like because you could be struggling with, like I said, even lying. You could be struggling with just whatever it is that's considered a smaller sin. I know there isn't one, but what we consider a smaller sin, you could be struggling with that, but you won't be told to sit down for that, is my whole point, as opposed to something that's considered larger. Go ahead.
So I think it's not, so that's the original point, that all sin is sin. Sin is, if sin is sin, there's no different levels to the sin. If we go on that, I think it's the manifestation of the sin, the severity, the intensity of the consequences of the sin. So if we're talking about a pastor that's sleeping with multiple women while he's married, then the emotional ramifications of that for his wife, is a manifestation of that. If he's sleeping with women in the church, what that looks like with, you got 2-3 women, sleeping with the pastor, they all fighting for the front row and it's a distraction, right, and they causing havoc, or whatever. You're talking about him having a baby out of wedlock, all of those things. Like I said, you can, the manifestation of the sin, where the sins may all be equal, the manifestation of it may be bigger than, right, he sits at the slot machine at the gas station, and play a little $20. Right. Or he goes to the Super Bowl party and has a beer. The manifestation.
After he visit people in the hospital, he have a cigarette because he's stressed. He don't smoke the whole pack, just one.
But that the manifestation of that doesn't impact the entire congregation, doesn't impact the church. Whether someone saw
wrong though.
But all sin is the same. So when we talk about somebody passed him in the hospital and saw, I saw Pastor Brown with a cigarette in his mouth, or he went to you said what?
I said a cigarette in the scratch off.
Right, and a scratch off, Oh, we went to the Mexican spot and he had a picture of margaritas, for Taco Tuesday.
Bottomless.
He was at brunch on Sunday. But like you said, there's people that's going to leave for that. There's people that's going to see him at brunch. There's people that's going to see him outside the hospital with a cigarette and say, I can no longer follow him. And like you said, that's fine.
Right.
But I think, like I said, it's some of those bigger things that have the bigger repercussions. So back to the movie, the young man who approached him outside. And so that was this, this big kind of standoff scene between, Lee Curtis and I think his name was Khalil, in the midst of him trying to rebuild his church. See, to me, that is a distraction to to the work that he was trying to do at the church.
Right.
And if we flip to the end of the movie, the manifestation of his sin was so large that he had one family come back. Was that it? He had one family.
The faithful 5 people.
You said what?
The little faithful 5.
Yeah, his little faithful 5 that came back to the church on that Sunday, and they disrespected him enough to come in and do donuts in the parking lot.
Well, no, that wasn't them doing the donut. That was
I'm saying other people who came in. Right. Like, not only we're not going to come, we're going to come and disrespect your space, and make all of this noise and put streaks on your ground, and do donuts and play.
He didn't catch it. He still thought it was a good thing. Oh, look, they came back for me. Yeah, baby.
They disrespecting you. Not only I very intentionally got up just to come and do donuts in your empty parking lot.
Just to show you how much space I can exactly. Spin my car around. There's no one is
coming. I'm going to come and have fun on your parking lot. Again, like I said, because the manifestation of his sin was so large, and even when they talked about the church, the new church still didn't have the capacity of his church. I think they could fit 1,100 people, and the other one can fit.
Well, no, the first church they had 1,100 members, but the new church, the new church I think was supposed to be pretty big, not as big as that one,
not as big as that, right? So again, I think sometimes it's how that sin impacts your family, how it impacts the community, because we're talking about more than just the church building and the members, but how it impacts them as well. That I think maybe that line on whether you need to sit down or you don't sit down, and this is what may happen. Because Khalil wasn't the first young man that he, had sexual relationships with, or whatever the issue was. I think they talked about multiple. Khalil may just been the first to come forward and say something.
Well, no, he just was the only one that didn't take the money. The rest of them took the money.
The rest of them took the money, right? The rest of them took the money, and Khalil didn't take the money, and he wanted to, approach him and talk to him, and a lot of times, right, in those positions, you have this pastor, and whether these young men, I think they said it was all consensual, but whether it was consensual or not, you talk about the power and the prestige that comes along with the pastor. You also talk about some of the physical gifts. It sounds like he was given cars and clothes and those type of things, and you get wrapped up in that. So like I said, so I think there's definitely a line, and I think that line is how much it impacts your family, the church community, the community that you're serving as a whole. That may cause you to need to step back and have a seat. Because if he would have stepped back, and to be honest, back to Lee Curtis, he ain't even, in Janessa's word, leaned into the correction. Because like you said,
he didn't learn anything.
Not a thing. And like you said, and because he was, touching on the sound guy, the video guy, like I said, and was oblivious to the fact that, baby, your parking lot empty.
Right.
No one is here, no one is coming. And the ending was kind of awkward. I mean, we got it, but the ending was kind of awkward. I wish we would have, been able to see a little more. Like, when is he gonna catch on that this is not gonna work?
Right.
But I think that's that line, the impact for everyone else.
I was just going to say real quick on the interview from the Breakfast Club. Regina Hall said, I think they're making a adult
cartoon.
Yeah. to continue the story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely an adult cartoon.
And before we close, I do want to just say that Bathsheba's bonnets. What was it? Bathsheba's bonnets for the hat store. The name of the hat store.
Oh.
I didn't even realize that. I didn't catch that.
It's called Bathsheba's bonnets.
I didn't even catch that.
The most brilliant name I've ever heard. A church hat store at that. Bathsheba's bonnets.
I didn't even catch that.
I mean, Bathsheba's David's girl, right? No.
I mean, not really. First.
Not really.
Yeah, no, I stole.
Was that Uriah's wife?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then he put Uriah at the front to get killed, so that he could have Bathsheba. I guess I remember that
because
story.
he had synced her.
Mm-hmm. He
had already had.
Oh.
He got rid of him to keep her.
Right. Mm-hmm.
First, I want to talk about that now.
David needs to step back down playing.
Right. Ain't nobody sit David down. David was 15. Huh?
Well, God did sit David down.
They said he was man after God's own heart, huh? He got to kill Goliath, all that.
But the baby died.
He had another one.
His baby with Bathsheba died.
First of all, babies die. Okay, that wasn't a punishment. He ended up having
Yes, it was.
He ended up having another one. David was fine. He didn't get sat down. He needed to be sat down.
The loss of a child is quite large, Rudy.
He should have been sat down. Why during that time?
I think he did. Well, he didn't sit down, but I think he did grieve.
Church don't want to talk
and
about
like this. God had to deal with him.
I'm finna open mid church. Fuck it.
No, sir.
I'm about to preach the
no, sir.
I'm about to preach the real truth. I'm serious.
I can't.
All right. Anyways.
So.
Let's get out of here.
Wait, I lost you guys. Wait, I lost my screen. Oh, here we go. So, Instagram, at the worst ones PK. We have a TikTok, but nothing's on it yet. I was supposed to do that last week, but I didn't. But at the worst ones PK, you can find us on Instagram. In terms of engaging with us or watching us or listening to us every week, we have a new episode that drops every Tuesday. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast, you can type in the Worst Ones Podcast and you will find us. And when you get there, make sure you like us, you make comments to us, you subscribe, and you share with all of your friends. We love you. All 500,200,103 followers. I think we lost some in that number I just gave. But we love you dearly. We thank you. We appreciate your continued support for the Worst Ones. My personal page is private. At Princess Kales 51.
Amen.
You can find me at JRihanna _. My page is not private, and we have fun over there. Kind of.
Shout out at Terry Wayne Comedy. Y'all can go argue with him about some shit because
he likes to argue.
He likes to argue.
Mm-hmm.
So hit him up. Check him out. He does comedy shows. South Florida, all over the country, New York, all that. Y'all follow him, check him out. Good job, Kelly. This was a good suggestion. I feel like next week we should let Terry give his
and I may rewatch again. I may rewatch again.
I think we should make next episode about what will we do if that was our daddy.
Okay.
How would we handle that if Lee Curtis Childs?
Because that's what they did miss. They did not talk. They didn't have kids.
They didn't have kids.
So we did miss that part.
Us as a PK, if that was your daddy.
Okay.
How would you handle it?
Okay.
I need that.
Okay.
Is that you?
That's my mama.
Okay. All right, y'all. Kelly.
That's made me decline my mama.
You can't keep her phone quiet. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Top of the world.